So while everyone's screaming it's over, something big just happened. Bitcoin's supply dynamics just turned positive for the first time since FTX's bottom and collapse, a shift that historically has always marked or foretold or foreseen a massive rally. So we know whales are stacking, the retail is capitulating and selling, but we have legacy players from traditional finance, from TradFi, starting to scoop at unprecedented rates, all while ETH just hit its all-time low in comparison to Bitcoin in the last 5 years. And we also know US mortgage rates are starting to spike. So all of this may be concerning and a bit much to process, but the real bull market starts, we all know, when retail or the normal everyday person gives up. So let's dive into today's show. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Jessica and I'm so happy you're here with me, and continue to tune in if you've been following me for some time. So without further ado, let's get into today's data. Okay, so taking a look at Bitcoin's price, we know that Bitcoin took a hit on Sunday along with the rest of the stock market, all in anticipation of these tariffs. We know that April 2nd is what President Trump, is calling Tariff Liberation Day. So while this whole talk of tariffs has not been entirely new and in many ways priced in, and I would say even with the small drop that happened, Bitcoin dipped 5K? Considering all, that's not a massive sell-off, guys. Not at all. Not even considering in comparison to how much the stock market was affected. So all in all, I'd still say Bitcoin is hanging on strong. But let's keep moving on to see what else is happening on the macro sphere of the world. Like what is happening on a political level, on a macro market level that is affecting the general sentiment in the market, because we know that crypto and Bitcoin, while it is decoupling or separating from the general traditional stock market and is breaking away from its own 4-year cycle as well, it still nevertheless does get impacted by macro market events. So we're going to graze through this quickly, because if you want to go learn more about it, I'd encourage you to go follow other channels that share more information on this, all while keeping in mind and paying attention to the tone of voice they use, because media and different, traditional media outlets, they're very biased. They're either far-leaning left or right. They're either pro-Trump or hate Trump. And so they speak in that way when they share their news. So it's very important to keep that in mind. But for purposes of my channel, we're going to go through just briefly what is going on, so you have that in the back of your head and your mind. As you can see here shared on the screen by Decrypt, you can see that Bitcoin, crypto prices, they all slide as trade tensions and inflation risks rattle the market. So it's similar to what I just told you. Bitcoin fell alongside. Let me read a bit for you here. Bitcoin fell alongside US futures Sunday as investors brace for new tariffs and rising inflation ahead of a pivotal week for markets. So I'm going to pause right there. The rest of it is just the details. But we know that this week is turbulent. It's going to be volatile. So do not trade unless you're trading with money that you could say goodbye to forever and not be worried about it. But otherwise, we can just expect it. It's like when you see bad weather's coming, what do? You stay home, right? You don't travel. You should have a similar attitude when you see there's going to be big market announcements that could shake the market, right? Like FOMC week is always turbulent, similar. So all we do is we hodl, we stay nice and steady, and that's it. The rest is the weather for now. But if we zoom in just a little bit more, now that we're on this macro topic, as shared here by Kobesi Letter, you would see that we do have key indicators going up and in a negative way. So I'm just going to pinpoint here specific parts that Kobesi Letter talks about. So they say the US Manufacturing Input Price Index. Now, mind you, after doing some more research, there are multiple different figures that go into this, so that it's not just straight away like, these key metrics. It's a compilation of different metrics. That said, it jumped to 65 points I believe anything over 50 points is considered high. Now, mind you, this is virtually an extension or like a direct result of the tariffs, because we know that parts, for instance, like there's many tariffs imposed upon many different sectors, and it's starting to affect manufacturing prices, I guess. And it's it's basically the highest that we've seen in 31 months. So that is a factor. And then we also have the services input prices index, which is also a compilation of figures, also rose to 60 points, the highest it's been in 18 months. So it's not something to shrug off, especially if you who are watching, I don't know exactly who watches my channel, though it would be really great to meet you and know, for those that are impacted by these increases in price, like I'm really sorry. It's really not nice. For me, I take it quite personally, actually. It's sad. It's not good for whoever these price index increases are affecting. But what we do need to know is that we are in very, very good hands. I've done extensive research. You probably have to if you're following my channel, because you most likely are like me and like to do your own research and be in the know-how of what's going on, because you want to know how it's going to affect your finances and your investments. But we have to know, we have to remind ourselves that we are in good hands, that President Trump, Howard Lutnick, Scott Bessent, everyone he's surrounded himself with in the cabinet, they are well-seasoned market people. They're personal investors. They understand markets. They love America, and they're going to move. Like, this is a turbulent time. We have to accept that. But are these figures going to stay this way? No, they're not. They're not. The market is going to improve, but we have to have our sea legs. It's like when you go out on the water, the boat's moving. You have to have your sea legs. You have to know how to get through a hard time. And that is what we are seeing right now reflected in these indexes. And then this is probably the most troubling aspect of the macro news I have to bring you today. Basically, FHA mortgage delinquencies, which is, I think, anything over 30 days. Like if someone misses, doesn't pay their mortgage over 30 days, I think it goes into the delinquency category. And this has gone up. It is at 11.3%. So apparently it's the highest it's been in 12 years, aside from COVID. But that said, we do know there is a stimulus check coming. And once again, we have a really awesome team looking out for America and the market. So I just know this is not going to stay this way. And we just have to stay tuned and just know how to make it through this time, because the market is going to get better. Like this, I know. I absolutely know it's going to get better. But okay, shifting gears now towards Bitcoin. What is going on in Bitcoin and in the crypto space? So as you can see shared here by Quinton, he basically is showing us that Bitcoin's supply just turned positive. This is what I was talking about in my intro. It just turned positive for the first time since basically the FTX collapse. So everything that's circled here in yellow on the screen, this is post the FTX collapse and how Bitcoin's supply changed during this time. So you can see the line cutting straight across to where we are now and where I'm circling with my mouse. So we're seeing a similar setup, which basically speaks to the fact that historically, when this has happened, the market turns bullish from here. We've historically seen a huge rally after, as you can see what happened here in the post FTX collapse shortly after the market pumped, right? This white line. So this is the first really, really massive indicator that is flashing right now that not many people are covering. And zooming further in, we have Dan Crypto Trades here also sharing a little bit more detailed information on this. And he basically says that Bitcoin tested the resistance area but rejected. Okay. So right now we're back to trading below the daily 200-day moving average. And what I like about what he wrote here, and this is why I'm sharing it with you, is that he goes on to say, and I agree that there's many moves, trading moves you could play here with gambling money only, but it would be too high risk for what it's worth, and it's too hard to time, way too hard to time. So then he goes on to say, he's happy just sitting back and watching how this all plays out with, Liberation Day happening on April 2nd, which we know is going to be a turbulent day for markets. So anyway, that's what's happening now. And while this is happening, it's kind of interesting and sad once again for me Because I think of, I don't just see numbers like you see here on the screen. Quentin shares this chart that shows basically that while there's short term capitulation, right, or selling, we also have whales accumulating aggressively at the same time. So, when I see, like retail or the little guy, the 99%, I don't just see a number, right? Like I think of their families and I think of, who's behind that. Like how much did the market affect that person that day? So anyway, you see, turbulent times, like I said in a past video, bring out more of what you are. So it'll bring out more of what you don't know or more of what you do know, and you'll do more of that, right? That's what hard times do. They bring out more of who you are. And so right now you see the little guys, retail, panic selling because they are scared. They don't know what's going to happen. So they're pulling their money out. And you also see whales that are nice and comfy and just like have been through this before buying. They're like, thank you. It's all on sale right now. So we see a lot of both of those things happening right now in the market. And as I was saying, while the little guys are selling off, we have giants like Mara, which stands for, what does this stand for? Mara. It's something digital. Yeah, Marathon Digital. It's right on there. They just bought what is arguably the most aggressive purchase of Bitcoin, basically selling their equity for Bitcoin. $2 billion worth. That is extremely aggressive. It's one of the most aggressive purchases we've seen of Bitcoin coming from a private company. So this is all just following. Remember my last video on Friday, we covered like BPI France and the government of France, like they're buying Bitcoin and even like making, like also going to be investing or having a fund to invest into other altcoins and crypto tokens. So this is extremely aggressive. And what else? We have, this is a rumor, but remember these rumors sometimes are released strategically. We have Bitcoin LFG sharing here with us that there's rumors of Berkshire Hathaway to be buying Bitcoin. They apparently are looking to buy $334.2 billion in cash to be investing into Bitcoin and crypto. And this is someone, mind you, that called Bitcoin, what was it, rat poison? So this is, Warren Buffett, who's the founder and CEO, one of like the most renowned investors. He was an extreme Bitcoin hater, and now he's going to be aggressively buying. Like this is a big story. This is a beautiful story that shows that once once people understand the power of Bitcoin, fundamentally, like how hard and how big they can swing. This is incredible. So this is what I mean. Like small guys are panicking and selling. Oh no, the tariffs. Oh no, mortgage delinquencies are going up. Oh no, manufacturing prices are going up. Well, everyone's terrified. You have gigantic whales like this investing and aggressively, and we're supposed to follow the smart money. So don't be scared and just know that it's going to be fine. And if there's ever been a time to buy more Bitcoin, it's now, because we're officially seeing the domino effect starting for the Bitcoin supply crunch, as they say, where it's starting to become a bit of like a money grab. And we also have, as Ali shares here with us, a very, very interesting fact as well, that supply of Bitcoin on exchanges that's being moved onto exchanges is low. It's decreased, which speaks to the fact that investors aren't looking to trade or sell their Bitcoin. They're holding. And typically, historically, when Bitcoin supply on exchanges has been low, it usually signals a price surge to come because there's less Bitcoin available. So it'll obviously go up in value. Right. So this is amazing. So keep that in mind when you see all this tariff news and all these things. Like there's some serious momentum brewing, like in the waters. But okay, now to talk about the fact that, as you can see on my screen here, shared by bar chart, that Ethereum's price in comparison to Bitcoin is at an all-time low. Lowest that it's the lowest it's been since 2020. This signals that basically investors are moving their money away from altcoins, because basically every token in circulation, like every token created ever, is not as valuable as Bitcoin, basically, because there's a limited supply of Bitcoin. It's never been hacked. It's immutable. It's already considered like digital gold. It's truly peer-to-peer, decentralized, of course. There's so many reasons, but Bitcoin is king. And we see nations now, right? We just saw Marathon Digital, Michael Saylor, President Trump with his Bitcoin strategic reserve, countries all over the world, El Salvador, everyone is buying Bitcoin and stashing Bitcoin as much as possible. So people are moving their money away from altcoins and they're putting it into Bitcoin, into like a store of value that's safer. So that's basically what this signals. So in a way, it's like sort of like a tricky metric to consider. Yeah. Anyway, let's keep moving on. But what else? So obviously, it looks like we're going to close Q1, end of March is end of Q1, with Ethereum closing its worst quarter since 2018. So some people are panicking and so worried about it, but we know the market's going to turn around. We know that this bull run is different than other bull runs because of what's happening in government with Trump trying to overhaul, global trade, tax, policy regulation. There are so many factors as to why this year is so different. We've never seen Bitcoin on the news as we have this time around, this cycle. So there's so many reasons. If you've followed my past videos, you would know, but there are so many reasons to explain why we're seeing this. And so I don't have any fears or worries on Q2. I think this bull run just looks a little different and plays out a little different. The timing is a little different. All bull runs are different. Actually, all of them have been different than the previous one. So we're just seeing something we haven't seen before. But are the general metrics and the general timelines and the general charts and the general everything still similar? Yes, they are. And then we have, of course, global money supply, which is on the rise dramatically. I don't have a chart to share with you today, but I have covered it in my past videos extensively. And Bitcoin follows the global money supply. So yeah, anyway, I'm just letting you know what's going on. And then to zoom in a little bit on crypto, like micro news, I guess you'd call it, you would see, and I talked about this in my videos last week, but we know Pump.Fun, which is responsible or was the like catalyst, for bringing memes to the world during this last meme bull run that fizzled out. They spun out their own DEX, right? And right now, their DEX called PumpSwap, they are the #1 DEX on Solana in the past 24 hours. Now, mind you, it's new. It just launched. Things always pump in the beginning. It recorded $1.8 billion in volume and currently has 59% of the market share. So this is extraordinary. Now, keep in mind, most of the volume is coming from the people that were mainly trading memes that want the meme sector to come back, mainly degens. And I don't mean that derogatorily. They're just people who gamble more with their crypto because they have the extra income to do that and they like it. So anyway, all judgments aside, it's doing well. It's #1 right now, which is great for Solana ultimately, because Solana was severely impacted when the meme season was over. So ultimately, this is good for Solana. It keeps it as like the DeFi like king. And then here you have more detailed news being covered by The Block, and they go into more detail here. PumpSwap DEX nears 2.5 billion in cumulative volume 10 days after launch. So it is pretty huge, for sure it is. But always think about who makes up their market, who are their customers, who's making up this number. It's degens, meme holders primarily, and then I'm sure there's other DeFi loving sort of crypto investors. But we'll have to see is what I'm trying to say. This is the beginning. We'll have to see how the dust settles. But I do have more interesting news for you. And I love Sui. Sui, which is its own chain, developers. I made a video on it. You can go check my playlist just on Sui. Sui's team is brilliant. They come from the original Facebook or Meta developer team that was building Libra, remember back in the day, DM, when that fell apart, when Congress tore it apart. Not funny, but when they did, that team broke into two and half of the team went off and built Sui. So it's a brilliant blockchain, very fast. There's a storm brewing over there, I would say, of activity and projects. And now they have a wallet integrated or integratable with Telegram. which we know the whole crypto community uses a lot, like primarily uses Telegram. So it's amazing. So they just launched and they have 100 million plus signed up users, and you can buy, sell, and hold SUI directly from Telegram. So that's pretty awesome. And then what else? This is super, super excited. Now, remember, I don't love altcoins, and I'll be very sparing in what I share with you, like extremely sparing in what altcoins I bring you, because I don't want you to get wrecked. And I've seen a lot of people get wrecked, and I've lost a lot of money on altcoins, like as awesome as it may be, and as awesome, and credible as the influencer or highly successful VC is that tells you about them. Doesn't matter. The success rate, I would say, is like extremely low for an altcoin to become successful in the long run. Like most altcoins, I hate to say it, like unless they're like your Chainlink or your Ondo or like that, right? Like SUI or like Solana, like unless they're like fundamentally like necessary crypto projects that are going to like change the world, chances are, like I would say, I don't know, like almost 99% of them are going to fail. That's a big number, I know, but there's a lot of crypto projects being launched all the time. So you have to be extremely careful what you invest into. Now, this one I love. Okay, this is an update. Guns is now a blockchain that was launched by Gunzilla Games. You'll have to go look them up. Gunzilla Games, I don't have it off the top of my head, but they have proper game studio in Germany, and their director or their co-founder is like a famous, well-renowned director from Hollywood. And he, built an awesome team. They've been around for a while. They created Gunzilla and they partnered with Play Off the Grid. It's like a real game, real users, like beautiful in-game, animation. Anyway, they now created and launched their own blockchain called Guns. And they have launched, and they're currently leading the way on Binance's Binance launch pool, $15.8 billion USD staked. They're doing awesome. So anyway, go check them out if you're interested. So, all right, guys, that's the end of today's video. I hope you have a sense of what's going on in the market. I hope you understand and have your sea legs today as you go into your day and you hear about the tariffs and you see the market tanking and you see maybe Bitcoin goes down a little bit. Oh no, Bitcoin's going to the millions someday. That's all you need to know. You need to know that people like Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett, and Marathon Digital, they're buying in the billions of dollars because they know it's valuable. They wouldn't be buying garbage, right? They're buying it because they know it's extremely valuable. So that's all you need to know. And in the meantime, just stay steady and keep doing what you're doing and get ready, because this bull run is going to be totally different to other bull runs, and you just need to be ready. That's it. So, okay, guys, I will catch you. Happy Monday, by the way, and I will catch you in my video tomorrow. Take care.